Hey guys, I'm so excited to be bringing to you the second session of our No Shame in My Walk series. And this second session is called Breaking the Chains of Mental Health Shame. Um, Today we're going to be talking about denial and how denial plays a factor in our decisions to take care of our mind, our bodies, our souls, and really seek the help that we need. So, denial. The basic definition of denial, I'm always going to give you a basic definition, is the act of declaring something to be untrue. So, just that's just straight up. It's like, hey, nope, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm not anxious. I'm not nervous. I'm not suicidal. I'm not, there's nothing wrong with me. Everything's fine, and it's just a declaration. And how strong is that? Like a declaration is like, I think about like the Declaration of Independence, like that's so strong. Denial has such a strong presence that it's hard to break. It's hard to convince. It's hard to change once you've already decided that something is untrue and you're not going to accept it. A lot of things that are attached to denial is fear and shame. And we just talked about body shame and how shame um, can develop over time. It can be influenced by social media. It can be influenced by our family. There could be cultural influences. And the history of mental health, the history of psychology, especially in the Black community, has been one that I can understand why it's so easy for people to deny that we actually need just a little bit more guidance and a little bit more help, because it didn't start off pretty. Psychology definitely started off not looking the greatest, and definitely started off, not really catering to all persons. But something psychology has done is transitioned over the years, and it's more culturally accepting, and there's diversity talked about throughout every single class that I've taken so far, and their culture has been added to the DSM, the book that we use when we are diagnosing clients, so that we are aware that some things may just be cultural traditions, or it just may be how that culture is used to responding, and so it's not necessarily a disorder, but just the nature or nurture of a person's background. And so we can't force people to conform to what we see as, non-anxious or anxious in our society. But it can also allow us to have a different perspective and be well-rounded clinicians. So I think that denial is something that we can break. I think knowing and sharing and educating that, the brand of psychology is changing. It's evolving to be more encompassing of all people, that we're not here to put you in a box or put you in a crazy house or call you crazy. Like, I actually really, really hate when clients refer to themselves like that, like, oh, I'm just crazy. Like, no, you're just normal. We're all born with anxiety. From birth, it happens. You're an infant and you're hungry. No other way but to respond in nervousness and excitement and anxiety, because you need something and you don't know how to get that need met, until a parent then provides you with food or water or comfort, and then subsides the anxiety that you feel. So these things are very natural for us to experience. We are born with that, and this is what happens. But outside of that, it's when the anxiety becomes overwhelming. It's when, the thoughts become uncontrollable, that it gets more on the severe side. But our DSM, it allows us to even take care of those things that are not as extreme. Like just generalized everyday anxiety. Everything doesn't require medicine either. And I think that's a common misconception, is that, oh, if I go see a therapist, they're going to put me on meds. And that's not necessarily true. There are some things that talk therapy is perfect, and that's all you need. It's just someone to guide you through your thoughts so that you understand your actions and beliefs, and why you do the things you do, or why you made that decision, or why you're unable to make a decision. I think that we are a gift from God. I think that everyone is put here for a purpose and has a call, and if you get the right therapist, because you should definitely do your research and make sure they're going to cater to your needs as a client, that they can help you. I think that we have a unique nature that it was God given, that we're able to understand different aspects of this brain that He created, so that we can provide you with the perfect guidance to navigate something that you actually have the ability to understand. And this is what we're here for. So I think that if we can just hold each other up and hold each other accountable for our anxieties, for our denial, for anything that we're going through, and just telling someone like it's okay. I know growing up in an African American community and cultural family and all of that jazz and Catholic and Christian, that a huge misconception is that this is ungodly. That if you're having issues, you just take it to God and that's it. And you should, and you definitely should take your problems to God. But there are some things that God created a psychologist or God created a therapist to understand more than you, so that that person can guide you through those things that you're struggling with. And I think the first step is taking it to God. The first step is saying, Lord, there's something going on and I don't know what it is, but it's causing me to take these actions, or it's causing me to isolate, and I don't want to be there. And once you can take it to Him and say, Lord, I want to give these things over to you, it still takes work. We just can't sit there and just wait for Him to do it all. We have to take the steps and do it as well. So I just wanted to share a passage that has helped me, even as a clinician, really understand what God has for us, and that it's okay to go talk to someone. Like, you get your pastoral guidance, but it's okay to need a therapist and need to talk to somebody that can really guide you and connect the dots. Because that's kind of what I feel like we're doing in this session. We're connecting the dots. I am a guiding force that understands the process of that brain just a little bit more than you. And so what I'm able to do is to connect the dots and see that, oh, wow, this thing in my childhood has affected this thing in my adulthood. And so the passage that I have here is John 3:19 through 21. And this is the Message version. And it says, "This is the crisis we're in. God light streamed into the world, but men and women everywhere ran for the darkness. They went for the darkness because they were not really interested in pleasing God. Everyone who makes a practice of doing evil, addicted to denial and illusion, hates God light and won't come near it, fearing a painful exposure. But anyone working and living in truth and reality welcomes God light, so the work can be seen for the God work it is." And I think that's so good, because it's just telling us, like, we can't run from the things that we're struggling with. We can't run from the anxieties that we experience every day. We can't run from the hurt and the pain that a relationship has caused us. We can't run from the addictions, from drug addiction to alcohol addiction to sex addiction. We can't run from those things. But that if we go towards the light, if we go towards someone that can give us the guidance so that we can see God's light in the things that we've experienced, because there's something bigger on the other side. Your story, whatever you've experienced, is going to save someone else. And if you hide in the darkness of denial, if you hide in the darkness of shame and fear, then you're stopping someone else from seeing God's light and being able to say, like, I went through this thing, but through God's guiding light, I was able to give it all to Him and speak to someone and get the help that I needed, so that I can tell my story here today and be a testimony to someone else that may be going through the same thing. And our earth is not perfect. And I think that in the evils of the world and the things the devil has come in and succeeded in and changing and flipping and affecting, has allowed things to happen to women and children and men of all ages. And unfortunately, we don't know how to deal with it. And sometimes dealing with that is going to denial or to run away. And so I encourage you, as this week was a celebration of World Mental Health Day, that if you are a person that is in need of help, that you go and get in touch with your local therapist. Look into your insurance company, see what's covered. Talk to your local church. They may know someone that knows someone. I guarantee there's a therapist in your church somewhere that's, there to help or there to be a guiding light to get you connected with a resource. But it starts with educating yourself. So no, we're not all going to put you on meds. That's not how this works. We're not trying to brainwash you, I promise. We just want to be guiding lights that God has blessed us with the opportunity and the ability to navigate this brain that he also created so uniquely, that we have the capability when using this talent wisely, and using this talent with a God mind and a God soul and a God light. It can truly, truly, truly help people overcome some things that they struggle with day in and day out. So I encourage you to stop going through the denial phase. It will take time, but just even starting with giving it to God and saying, you know what? I know I've been struggling with suicide, Lord. I want to give it to you so that I get the strength to get help. And there are people like me out there that are willing to help and want you to have a very holistic life where your mind, body, and soul is completely aligned. So thank you guys. It was a very short session today. Next week is going to be even greater. We're going to have a special guest next week. I will follow up with you guys, but we should have a special guest next week. I thank you guys for always tuning in and being open to hearing what I have to say. And you all have a great weekend.